everybody. Welcome to Market Moves. I'm Jason, the Wizard of Ops, and with me is Jay, aka Dark Matter, aka our portfolios at the end of Friday. Dark Matter, right? How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing well. I mean, it could have been a lot worse if you were not on the right side of Friday's chaotic move, or even the overnight swing here where we've rallied almost 1.2%. So it's volatility's back.
Yeah. Real quick, did you catch our intro? Did you see what happened?
I did, but why don't you go ahead? Yeah.
So Jill's having fun with us, I guess, right?
Yeah, the sunglasses
my
on
sunglasses
us.
pulled up my whole face. Yeah, this weekend actually we had the Volland social. So we had a few subs come in, and some people flew in from the West Coast, and it was great. We had a good time. It was at a local brewery here, and it was a good time meeting the subs and talking markets and talking macro and stuff like that. Next year's social dark, Jay, you couldn't make it because you were watching football.
I was on the other side of the DMV, I'll call it, up near College Park, watching my beloved Huskers give a good beatdown of the Maryland Terrapins. So I ended up as a happy camper ending the night as well, just like I'm sure all of you did at the social.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. So let me get this out of the way. I'm looking at the pre-market, and apparently we are up just about 6-7 points. There you go. I told my kids I'd do that. I look back on when I was a kid and thought, what were the stupid things we did as a kid? Like, the 6-7 or skibbity toilet or anything like that. And I can't come up with something. I feel like I'm in a perpetual no soap radio joke, right? So anyway, that's how much, we do seem to be bouncing. I guess I wonder if this has legs. So let's see what we got.
Yeah, whether this has legs or not, let's jump in. If you don't mind, I would like to take a few minutes to kind of just go through last week, if that works for you, just to kind of recap a couple things here.
We should.
Yeah, I mean, so I think all of last week we kind of said, the line in the sands, if you're a breakout trader especially, you're going to need to wait for either 6,700 or 6,750 to break, right? Or break down, for that matter. So all week we consolidated right into that zone, right? We tested the upper range multiple times, 6,760 to be exact, right? And then we tested 6,700, I think, once in the week as well. And then we went into Friday, and Friday was pretty ominous. It was very interesting in terms of like the charm outlook, the Vanna outlook. I think for like a minute that night, I was like, is something wrong? Either we're going to sell a lot, or I think something's off with the data. And it was like, no, something's not off with the data. It feels like something is brewing. Now, of course, can we predict the what will trigger a sell or a buy? Of course not, right? But I think if you looked at the data, and if you don't mind, I'm going to just quickly, there's a couple things I just want to highlight for everyone here. So I'm just going to go into our trade plan last week here, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. And more specifically, I'm going to open this up in full view. There we go. So on Friday, as we saw that data kind of compile, right? There we go. So we kind of came into that the structure basically is a controlled reversion. So any spikes up near 6,750 would be met with more volatility, dealers needing to sell, and basically the line in the sand here that we gave everyone on Friday was essentially this, and I think you came in as well, was our directional bias was it's weak. Expect fades from that 67.60, and that, dips into 67.20 will occur. And then we kind of ended at that saying buy extreme dips only if 67 holds, and then your vol compression is important here. We did not get any vol compression Friday. As you'll see, if you go look at the VIX throughout that morning, it increased, especially after the consumer sentiment. And we had 66.40 as a target for that Friday. So we went way past that. And I think the other thing I want to just highlight is, again, you have your Volland data, and you went in here, I think it was literally minutes before the sell-off. I will go ahead and let you recap this part of it if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What you see, and here it is.
Yeah. All right. So one of our subs, we blocked out the name because we didn't get permission to post this on X. But one of the subs came and said that. Now, if you remember, anybody following me and following my Substack recognizes that Friday I was a little late sending out the Substack. I looked at the same data that Jay looked at, and it was such a profound shift going into Friday. And I was like, this can't be right. My thought went exactly the way Jay did. The data is wrong, right? So I went to the programmers, I went back to the trade logs, with Data Hunter, looked through stuff with me. I'm like, guys, this data took a major shift. Is everything working? Is the server working? Is, the ingest working? Is everything working? Yep. Check. And so I looked at the data and I'm like, this could be bad. This could get bad. I mean, the last time I saw a shift like this was like a week or so before COVID, and or the COVID shutdown, before the COVID thing hit, and it seemed like people were positioning for something. So I was like, this could be bad. And I even pointed out on Friday, all for the past couple weeks, vol has been very overpriced. We've had vol in VIX in the 16, 17 range, which 16 and 17 VIX typically is supposed to mean a 1% move every 3 days. That's 16 VIX, right? As like a rule of thumb. And we haven't had a 1% move sans Friday since August 22nd. Thank you, Big Bill, for that, right? So so it's been a month and a half. This isn't like a realized vol thing, right? This isn't like a historical distribution, because if it was a historical distribution, we wouldn't have a 16 VIX. We'd have like a 9 VIX. Our realized volatility is like in the 8-9 range. The dealer positioning wasn't reflecting this. People were selling premiums. And why not? Because VIX is super high. So I was putting all the pieces together and I'm like, something's not right. There's something is brewing, and there was so much vol selling. You could a little bit see it there. And and so I sent out this message to our team after it was after the Substack. And the Substack I kind of detailed a little bit, like something's brewing here. The vol is high. It's been so for a while, and now I'm looking at major premium selling to the downside. I'm like, and that dealers, if there's major premium selling on very high vol with very low RV, dealers are gonna have to adjust. There's gonna have to be an adjustment made. And so I wrote this message kind of saying protect your butt, almost to the point of that might even be your primary thesis.
I mean,
in my monthly message, but November doesn't look great either. So it's kind of, I was kind of putting all the pieces together, and I'm like, this does not look very good at all. Going into, and I thought it would be sometime this week that we would, something would touch it off, but no, it was a Trump tweet on Friday. And this was like, so the 10 minutes thing, completely fortuitous. Don't think that I have some, message into Trump saying, "Hey, now's the time to post this Truth Social post."
You
Yeah, that
didn't
was
you didn't meet
really
him
that
at
was
the you didn't meet him at the Sterling Golf Club, try
yeah
to sneak in a certain, hey, a tweet on this Friday would be amazing.
yeah. Do it at like 10:50, please. Yeah, so it was, and I was even on. I had a phone call at 10:30, so I was on a phone call when the drop started, and I'm like, like what the, um, so that was kind of that was like that was from like 10 o'clock to 10:30. That was my Friday. Is I'm like, you know, sitting there trying to like I didn't believe it, like because it was such a big shift. I was like, I don't believe this data, and whenever you make your own models, like this is true, I think, in the institutional space too. When you make your own models, you're a lot more skeptical of big shifts in data than you are if it's not your model. I'm sure, Jay, when you looked at this, you were like, oh, huge shift, I'm going bearish. Like I guess it did pop in your mind, like, is the data wrong? But I'm
Yeah.
sure that thought popped in your mind a lot less than it did mine. For me, I actually
Well,
had to confirm.
yeah, I mean, well, I waited for the consumer sentiment report to just kind of come out. Like I was patient, right? I didn't want to, I don't like to be at the top and I don't like to be at the bottom. Where my sweet spot is somewhere in that middle I want to be at. And when I sat there, I was like, okay, we've now taken out 6720 and 6700. And I cut a lot of it at, I think it was 6650 or yeah, right around 6650, I think is where I cut the majority, and I waited, right? And waited for the next trade to show up. And then I think I missed out. I took the retest of 6620 back to 6600. I mean, I left some on the table. Don't get me wrong. I did not nail it, execute perfectly here. But I think it was just like we saw maybe a downside. I don't think I assumed 6500 would hit by
Yeah.
4:30 p.m. That
Yeah.
was not in the cards.
It wasn't in the car. I mean, so I knew once I started seeing that drop and we, slice through 6,700, no problem. And then slice through 66 something, no problem. I knew I was like, this is not this is not a buy the dip moment. And you started seeing VIX explode. That's the other thing too, is all last week, spot vol betas were very high, which means that we would, every single drop, we would over VIX. Every single pop, we would under VIX. And it was just like, there was something up with the vol space. But again, I didn't think it would happen on Friday. Before that call at 10:30, I still didn't have my trade on. I was sitting there trade planning, thinking this could take next week. This is gonna like one of those things that could take us some time. I don't know when it'll actually happen. And at the time, I had a long gamma vertical for November. That was the answer in my mind at the time, but it wasn't solid. And then when the market ran, while I was on the phone call, the market started tanking. Someone on the phone call said, "Oh, the market is dropping." I'm like, "Oh no, it's running without me." Oh no. But I was like, I felt fully justified in chasing, like, and I ended up making money because I was like, I think it was like we're only 40 points down, so I think it was like 66.80 or something like that when I put it on. And I'm swing trading, so I don't have to hit precise levels, like
like we day traders have to. Yeah, that's for sure.
You day traders have to be a lot more precise than me. So I threw it on for November, and I was making multiples just on Friday on that trade, but and I was flat right before it too. I had no trades on because again, like the data was screaming something. The data was saying something's up. So again, like, and now we have this tweet up. So I'll show you, even if like you can like zoom in a little bit on what Green Blob's post is. He says, "Is this SPX 0DTE accurate?" He had the same thought. He or she had the same thought that we had. Like, there's no way. Like, come on, man. Like, at the time, it was 67, 48, 97, right? You can see it right there. At the time, we were sitting there floating around the resistance and all green. We were sitting there saying, This is saying that we should be dropping. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I mean, when this shifted to like this view, I think I was like, oh, like I did one of those, and I'm like, okay, how fast do I get into this now? And it was quick, unfortunately, right? Like it happened, like I'm looking at the charts here. We had a half hour where it consolidated, right? So right up until 10:30 to 11 is when a lot of this positioning started to shift, right? And or increase, I should say. And then the zero DTE charm went from like semi-supportive, if no vol kind of thing, to like this, right? And I think this is just a learning experience for us all. Like this, you can't not trust Volland is what I concluding here. This is what I wanted to just spend a few minutes on. This is we can try to fight the data. We can fight the data. Sure, is there maybe a technical problem to be assessed? But it was assessed. It was looked at, right? And at this point in time, the way I see it here, the data don't lie, and it's just how you read it, your analysis, right? And even Vanna, Gamma, they were aligned. I just thought we would have a little bit more support coming in, but clearly not, right? The market did not want to buy into any of this.
It was weeks, weeks we've been programmed to thinking -20 was a large drop, and then you look at, you kind of, I mean, if you zoom back in there, and this is all zero DTE, so all this is irrelevant now, and it was insane notional. But if you go to the puts, go to the, look at those.
Yep, here's
look
your
at
puts.
Right below 6,700. It's those red bars, which means those were people selling premium, customers selling premium, and dealers, dealers being stuck with long puts. And this is delta. So, down there, I'm like, it was, once we got down into that range, that's a scary spot, then all the, charm goes super positive. Everything goes, and the notionals were very, very high.
I mean, look at that.
Buying puts too. So it was just like,
I think that's what tipped my hand a lot was the notional in the week adjusted, right? Like we were looking at like 50 to 100 million maybe in some of the zero DT charms, right? And Friday when I'm like 2 billion, 4 billion, what is going on here?
Yeah, there was something, yeah. And honestly, like there's fishy, I don't want, my models aren't perfect. No model is perfect. And so when we see like a big shift like that, I think it's a good time to check. I will check. I am not beyond believing that my models could be wrong. They could be wrong. Everybody's models could be wrong. But no, it wasn't on Friday.
But this is the key though. You double checked for all of us, right? Once a few of us kind of hinted at is something going on here, and once it was verified, I was like, okay, it's game.
Yeah.
All right, let's hop into this week.
What is your trade plan?
Yeah, let's
right.
Yeah, now this week is going to be
for Friday. Now we got to go look forward. And it's 9 o'clock, so this is when most of our viewers come on. So
it's perfect. It's so perfect timing. I think this week as a intraday trader, I think it's going to be a little bit aggravating. You got to keep your bias open this week, especially at some of these key levels here. Be wrong. Don't be wrong and be down a lot is how I kind of look at this. You're at the mercy of a few catalysts this week. Earnings obviously being a big one. We'll kind of address that here, at least what earnings in just a moment. But in terms of some of the bigger levels here, I think for me this week, the 66.25, 66.50 range, which that's exactly where we're at right now in the ES and overnight futures. I think they're going to play a big pivot in terms of just, are we going to be able to keep fluctuating up or down? This zone will provide some of that. There's a lot of gamma up north, 6,700 and north is what I'll say. So like it is full of resistance, at least going into OPEX later this week here as well. So I mean, if you're bullish, like you want to see us retake 6,700. That needs to be at least your point of view. There is reclaiming 6,700. I think if you're bearish, if you're not already in a trade right now, like you just again be patient here. It's going to come, and I think for me today, the 6,650 level here is what I'm looking at intraday. And I think ultimately on the week, it might be a key pivotal level as well. So I'll go into Volland here in just a second, but I want to kind of give my higher overview here, just a high level overview. On the scenario, like if I had to, I'm kind of doing these prediction based things, just I'm testing this, so bear with me here. I'm a little bit more bearish to neutral here, especially if we get back below 66.25 and we maintain that. There is a gap that is open just below that from the overnight ES futures action. So I'm kind of looking at that level here to just see how is the market going to react if it's above or below that. So that's important for me, and that's at least how I'm kind of considering this week. Should we get some miraculous, hey, we're no longer, or we get the taco announcement, I'll just put it at that. Then you can see the bulls, repairing and getting back up above 6,700. But based on the data, I have a 30% view of that world. And then a vol shock. I can't predict vol shocks, right? I'm not the one holding the tweets, but I'm just going to put there's a 25% chance of that. And if that does happen, you're pretty fast down to 64.75, if not 64.25. So that's just a little bit of my high level. I would say the range we're in right now, like this is just pure chop. You're going to have to scalp kind of within the 65.75, 66.50 level. If we're stuck within that zone, like you just got to scalp. If you're an intraday trader, precision is required intraday. Otherwise, you can see some mean reversions occur intraday. I'll quickly pause. Any high-level thoughts you want to share?
So my high-level thoughts is, for me, when I looked at Volland, and I guess we'll look at it soon, the goalposts were closer to like 6,400 and 6,700. Though that's where like the real support and resistance start. But the thing is I don't think this is over yet. Friday was a vol event, which technically means that around Halloween, I guess a little after Halloween, by Veterans Day, we should be seeing 67.50 again. That is possible. Like, you could do that, but I don't think the downside is over yet. So I wouldn't trade for it yet. But and I think it might take a little longer than 3 weeks. I would give it a month. 3 weeks is what the study said, and it's I guess now a 93% success rate, 25 out of 27. I think there's more vol events to come, and that's when we can start trying to get bullish. Right now, from my understanding, even though we've bounced, I guess, in like 70 points or something like that since the close, which is actually like 130 points since the 100% threat on Friday. That in this bounce, VIX has only gone down 1 point, and that's so that's saying to me this is fake news, right? This is this bounce probably won't last. I don't know, I haven't seen since the beginning of the show what the market has done since my 6-7 comment, but I don't know if it's like gone up more, gone down more, but I have a feeling that we are going to fill that gap today, and VIX is kind of saying, yeah, get ready, we're probably going to that this isn't over yet.
Yeah, with you as well. So let's look at some of those catalysts potentially for this week. So we do have Powell speaking tomorrow. We have PPI and retail sales, and then the housing starts and permits round up the end of the week. And then more importantly, tomorrow...
Hold on. Go back real quick.
Sorry. Yep.
Is housing starts and permits, and even PPI, aren't those government
Yes, so I should have given my normal government shutdown. If not finished, no data will come out.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I was about to say those two catalysts aren't gonna come out.
You're 100% right. Thank you for that. I want to get past this shutdown. Obviously, that's what's in my head here.
Yeah.
We got enough volatility with
Well, I have a
China, right?
feeling. Yeah. Well, honestly, I have a feeling that market volatility may make Republicans capitulate a little bit more. So,
I agree with you there.
you
Yeah,
know,
maybe
it's a possibility.
that's very true. Good shout. All right, keep us going here. So, earnings start. So, earnings season is back. We have financials. It's odd. They usually report on Mondays, which we would have heard a lot, or even Fridays, right? So, they shifted to like Tuesday, which is pretty interesting here. So Tuesday before the bell rings tomorrow, you got quite a few important earnings here. BlackRock, JP Morgan, Citi, Wells Fargo, even Domino's Pizza. I like to keep an eye on this one just to see how the consumer is doing. And then later in the week, ASML for all of our semi-chip fans out there and NVIDIA fans. This is one that I would keep an eye out for. Bank of America and Morgan Stanley also report before the open. And then, United, I would love to see how they compare to Delta. If you didn't see Delta's earning last week, they just skyrocketed. Some good news there. And then last but not least, I would say TSMC is your next semiconductor here that might bring some volatility to the semis. But any thoughts on the start of earnings season again?
Yeah, it's funny that how is this ordered? Like how do they
They don't, there's no structure up and down that I've noticed. My assumption is probably a percentage of movement is some of these is how they have it, but at least me personally, at least that I've noticed, there's no ranking or sorting of how they put.
Okay, because I was about to say, how did Dollar Tree rank above Bank of America?
Hey, inflation going up. Is Dollar Tree making more money? That's going to be an important signal there.
Whether they Progressive, Progressive is just like a TV insurance company. How is that above Bank of America, Morgan Stanley? Anyway, yeah, no, from an option standpoint, I like looking at earnings that are closer to the Friday, but overall, it's very difficult to do earnings moves in market volatility because the market kind of overtakes. You could maybe do like a dispersion kind of thing, like go long Morgan Stanley and go short the market kind of thing, or vice versa. If you see, good earnings outlook, but Tuesday before the open, we could already be, 50 points down, or, JP Morgan could be 2% down. And then you look at Volland and you're like, wait, the data that I just did this analysis on is already out of the picture, and especially pre-market, JP Morgan releases pre-market, which means that there's pre-market ES moves that are happening before JP Morgan announces. So my advice is kind of note it, but if you typically do moves for earnings, like you typically do trades for earnings, you might want to definitely scale back, and even especially as an intraday trader, scale back your risk.
There's
at least scale back. If not, sit in the sidelines and just watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's my key here. Is this why I said when we started here, this could be an aggravating week for intraday traders, especially if you're not patient. So I'm with you. You got to just go lighter this week, right? There's many more weeks here for us to trade. This is just 1 week. You know what? If you can catch a ride with the market, move with the market then. But otherwise, don't fight it.
And also, I think one thing that's very important, and this is more on like the, self-awareness department. If you lose and you get frustrated, or you lose like 2 or 3 and you get frustrated, step away from the computer, and not with no positions open, like step away from the computer. You're going to have to be self-aware to know when you are chasing losses, and especially even in your gains, don't, get too haughty by winning, because then you're going to have a loss and then you're going to be like, oh, but like that can spike you. So absolutely be self-aware of your emotions during the next week, at least, maybe 2 or 3. So
yeah, good shout. All right, let's keep going. So weekly options expected move. They're expecting a big one. They're expecting volatility in the market. This is the highest I've seen it in months now, I think. But they're assuming about 197 points, which puts us to the lower end at about 63.55 and to the upper range at about 67.50, let's call it. So a wild range this week. So that's why I'm saying expect the unexpected. And unless you can perfectly guess the top or the bottom here, just be like Remora, just roll with the bigger fishes. All right.
As wide as that is, Friday was a larger move than that.
True.
So, you know, I think that, I mean,
Could be
I'm not
longer,
saying
bigger.
197 can grow because it's 1 week left, and that could 1 week left can you know, the time will dramatically drop it quite a bit. But yeah, we moved like what 255 from open to close on ES, right? So it's like, you know, just be careful.
Yeah. Yep. Be careful is exactly right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep going. So, you know, again, I'll kind of flash my key levels here for the week, and then let's go into Volland here to kind of look at this. So, you know, for me, I think anything north of 66.50, I'm gonna just like I need data to back me to guide me up further. And what you'll see here is with gamma above 6,700, like this just doesn't feel like the best risk to reward kind of trade. Think of it like last week, right? If you even could, you know, long 67.25 to 50, was that worth the risk there that if you didn't exit in time, you saw yourself facing a 250 point sell off? So just consider that as you're entering trades, right? Like, sure, it can feel and look bullish today, and we might, you know, even get above here 66.50. I'm going to be a little bit more patient on the week here, and you know what I really want to see is if we trade that, okay, if we get past that, there's some big levels in the Volland world, and let me kind of now bounce over here. So if we look at just weekly Vanna, you can kind of clearly see your largest, you know, positive Vannas here, right? So 65.50 here to the downside, 67 up here. And then when you go compare your other Greeks, like let's look at Gamma here for a second. I mean, that 6,700 here, once this reloads, that's massive. That's a massive bar. Lots of resistance there. So while this loads,
6,700 was my like upside goalpost was there. You know, there's a lot of you know, it's very strong at 6,700.
Yeah, it's very strong. And I think also looking at a kind of equating that the volume profile, the heaviest amount of trading in Friday's session occurred right around here. So if you kind of see us poke a little bit above, this might be stop loss hunting, and then you're going to hit this gamma wall here. But if you see a stop here, there's a little bit of a reason. And what I would look at is to see if this keeps growing in notional value here. So that's like what I'm going to be looking at, is to see, are they going to halt it here, or are they going to let it go here and then, you know, flip the course as well? So that's a little bit of what my patience will be waiting for this week, is to see how these two levels, or this zone, essentially reacts. I'll pause. Yeah. Any thoughts you want to add on there?
I agree. Yeah, nothing to add really, I guess, on that. But 6,700 for me is honestly, for me, it's time to reload on downside stuff. So
yeah, and I you know, if you look at just so this is also you know, end of month expiration here. I mean, Van is pretty. I mean, you can just see it, like they just keep building it to push it back down, right? So,
that build right there, that 6,700 build, and this is Vanna, so that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a bounce back up here. But like, you know, I know November is next month, but November looks really poor. So I guess I hate saying it this way, but all your Ellioticians out there, it'd be like a little 2-wave bounce or something like that. You know, like I hate that, and it's completely not a read. But I always think about that. I'm like, oh, I bet all those Ellioticians are sitting there going 2 wave, 5 wave, 5B, X1, 3 wave.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
But I'm definitely not an Elliotician. But yeah, like that's that's the spot where I would start looking for the next kind of shooter drop.
Yeah, and I think looking at today's charm, I mean, this is interesting, right? So you've got some calls, a little bit of resistance up here. Your puts are way the hell down here. So I'm even kind of intrigued at how today starts to kind of play out. There could be some wild swings here intraday as well. So just be a little bit prepared as the market opens up here in about 10 minutes. But this should be an interesting week.
We're giving everybody some extra time. Nobody's even putting on comments, and giving everybody some extra time here.
Yeah. So that's all I had. That's my summary for the week here is be a little bit more patient, do less trading this week. We have many more weeks and months left of the year. Let's let some of this, rattle out. And I think here's the thing with the whole trade talks. They're not going to meet until next week, I believe, in South Korea, right? So if they meet, that's right. So there could be a lot of chipping and, perking back and forth at each other this week, and you just don't want to get caught in the middle of that.
Yeah, I think drops like Friday, because that was a shock. Like we had an RV of 9 for 8-9 area for a very long time, and something like that, something like a 2.75% drop is a shock to everybody's portfolio, and even especially option traders who are sitting there, condensing their condors or whatever. It's like a little hour. Not only did you get blown out, but you got blown out bad, right? And so overall, I think that the market could overreact to anything. Trump, I guess that this bounce is because the narrative is saying because Trump is saying like, she's a good guy, don't worry, he won't let us down. He didn't say we're not going to put on the tariffs. He said, don't worry, I have faith in him, that kind of thing. I guess that means they'll meet. But Trump is a little mercurial. We could, in about an hour, he can send something like out that says China is screwing up, and so now you do not want to be caught in those waves. Stick to your plan. We have these I personally, for swing trading, I have these goalposts at 6,400, 6,700. We're going to have these bounces. Stick with your plan, ignore the noise. There will be, if Trump does a tweet that, gets us back to 6750 or whatever, if that tweet happens, then, I have a plan just looking at this or just looking at my trade, regardless of whether we pass 6,700 or not. So it's kind of, or the reasons for passing stuff. So don't chase narratives, just chase your data. That's my thing. And size down, especially if you're inexperienced, size down. So
yeah, you nailed it.
Right.
I'm aligned with you, and best of luck trading this week.
Yeah, and be self-aware. That was the other thing. So be emotionally self-aware, size down, and ignore the noise. There you go. That's the market moves J&J, advice for the week.
The mantra.
Yeah. All right. Everybody stay safe out there. At least your portfolios, but stay safe physically, I guess, too. And we'll see you next week, and may Volland help you in your future trading ventures.